Good evening, everyone. I haven't made one of these videos in a while now. It's basically a legit build this time with cricket and hypnosis at its core. The synergies here are to use Blight Cyst to activate the cricket Mysteria and then hopefully trigger Blood of the Banshee with the high damage of charge shots from Hypnosis. I've also got Monk's Hood, which I'm hoping to protect my focus state and allow me to keep hitting those soul sigils with Cricket and do even more damage with it when necessary. And of course, we have the Cross with Blight Cyst interaction, also very powerful. So we have sources of decay, we have sources of fire, lightning, and I believe the only source of frost is from the ring, Shadow Mist. Now here, this is not really a camp. I'm just fighting a cursed chest, and I've decided to edit out any of the walking and sort of leveling portions of the run and just give you only the combat highlights. Hopefully that will keep things a little more interesting and dynamic. Now, one of the first things I started remembering about Blight Cyst really as I was fighting this fight here is just how much stagger damage it actually does to enemies. And that's both on direct contact with the blob and of course also when the blob explodes, especially if it's a fully grown cyst, you know what I mean? A mature cyst. Here we go. I finally get my reload off and I'm able to start chaining kills with the cricket to get that damage up. For those of you who don't know yet or haven't heard, cricket can now score kills on a number of things within the game. You can score kills on your own Blight Cyst. You can score kills on the decay projectile from Buckler Swordsman. You can do it on the flashbang grenade of assassins. You can do it on traps, the ice trap and the fire trap specifically. So this really makes cricket even more powerful of a weapon, allowing you to even take on bosses much more effectively. And honestly, of all the OG weapons, I think cricket has had probably the most successful career so far. It's gotten directly buffed in the ways that I just mentioned right now, but also benefited a lot from the addition of many new sources of ammo. When the game first came out, ammo was a lot scarcer, and during an expedition, you could pretty much only restock from the prayer chests. Then, in the Ghost Galleon update, they introduced itinerant mobs who drop ammo. In the Wailing Tower, we then got the Collector, and you could buy ammo pouches and take 3 of them, both regular and demonic, on an expedition. And there's also Calamities, which originally would only give their best rewards if you fought them, whereas nowadays you can pretty much get the exact same rewards from dealing with the Catalyst. So all of those 3 changes go a long way to offset Cricket's main weakness, which is, ammo consumption. Here in this fight, you see me kind of getting a little silly with one of the axemen earlier, which in turn leads me to dipping below a certain health point and sort of wasting that boon just to have him like drop kick an assassin and then disappear immediately. These things happen, it's fine. And you look at all those numbers, you see, and I'm not even popping any cysts yet. There we go. Now, something you're about to see here is kind of interesting to me. We have one of those enemies there. I think he's a handgunner. Yep. And I shoot him once. He pops the bubble up, and then I'm able to get a charged shot through the shield. Now, I know I have an Arcana here. You don't see them displayed, but I do have the piercing bullets Arcana. However, I think that refers to material shields. So I don't know if that's generally a property of Hypnosis, that you can pierce his energy shield with a charge shot, or if it's just the Arcanum that's doing that. Yeah. You see me kind of staring at that sort of Christmas lights show, just trying to take an extra second to find the swordsman head so I can land a crit. It's one of those things that I still find is a little unfortunate about this game, is that at times the abundance of filters and particle effects can really hamper your visibility. And I suppose there's, an argument to be made that that's more immersive and it's part of the experience. And I think, at least in the beginning, that's kind of what the devs were saying. But this game has become more movement based than it was originally. The way I play is sort of a bit slower paced. I tend to hang back and try to deal with my problems from a relatively safe distance. But this is not actually necessary to play this way. There are many people out there who have been, playing this game with the correct loadout, of course, in a very similar way to just a straight up movement shooter. So, considering that, I that change in the pace of the game, I find the issue that I just described with particle effects and general visibility to be even more bothersome, because if the overall pace was slower, you could just say, well, it's fine, it's sort of a more immersive, realistic experience. Sometimes you can't see things in the heat of battle, so you retreat, you get your bearings, but that's really less of sort of the intended experience now. I triggered a calamity here, and I got phantoms, and for a second I thought, I don't have any ammo for the cricket, so this is going to be hard, but it turned out alright, especially with that Iron Cross and charge shots from good old Hypnosis, which, if I'm honest, is, at least for the time being, my favorite long-range rifle in the game. I am not a fan generally of the sniper rifles like Hailstorm or Basilisk, because, again, the game is a lot faster nowadays. There's more enemies, there's more things coming at you, and those I just don't like looking down a scope in the midst of battle. And you add on top of that the fact that doing so also consumes stamina, and it's just not an ideal option. And the damage from Hypnosis is honestly comparable, if not superior, to the sniper rifles. For example, here, I think I fire a total of 2 bullets to get rid of that little group of musketeers. And yeah, of course, the spell combo helps, but still, that's really great ammo efficiency there. And I think I fire another 2. There's 1. I use the cricket a little bit, maybe 2 bullets. And I think I fire 1 more bullet here to clear that little group of swordsmen. So in total, I fired 4 Hypnosis bullets and maybe 2 bullets with the cricket to get rid of a camp consisting of something like 4 to 5 musketeers and then another 5 swordsmen. And it's pretty good ammo efficiency, And to be perfectly honest, triggering the Mysterium of Hypnosis isn't really as difficult as I initially thought. It's very consistent, right? The timing is always the same, and the charge up doesn't take that long. And compared to something like Frostbite, which I also love, it's just it's a lot more forgiving and straightforward. Here we are in the vault, and I'm using Hypnosis because I don't want to get disabled by those traps. So looking through this footage here, I could definitely see how these two weapons, they each kind of found their time and place in the run, right? You have Hypnosis, which in my opinion is the best long range option in the game, allowing you to deal with targets afar. And then of course you have Cricket to switch to if you are getting overrun at short range, allowing you to stay very mobile and aggressive at the same time, putting out large amounts of damage, like in the courtyard with the swordsman. So I was just asking myself, would there be any other weapons I would have rather taken on this run instead of Hypnosis, like, or Cricket? Would I have paired Cricket with something else, or would I have paired Hypnosis with something else? I think the only two alternatives I can think of to create that sort of same archetype of long range, short range, might be Striga and or Echo, meaning that I could go Striga, Cricket, or I could go Echo, Hypnosis, or I could go Echo, Striga. I think Strega is a fantastic long range weapon. In fact, I believe it has infinite range, but with the theoretical downside of firing a traveling projectile. When it comes to sheer fun and enjoyment of its mechanics, I think Striga is outranks Hypnosis, but it's a bit of a debate as to which one is actually more powerful. But have a quick look at this encounter here. So I fire assist, I clear the totem, I dash and empower, shoot assist, empower again, and the guys are dead before I can finish my sentence. So between Cricket and Echo, they're both great short range options, dishing out massive amounts of damage. They both arguably have the same weakness of ammo consumption and ammo reserves. And they both incentivize mobility, but in different ways, right? So sliding with Echo gives you ammo and reloads two shots and empowers them, and dashing does that for Cricket, but it has to be after a kill. So, but they are actually quite similar weapons in the role they fulfill. I think ultimately what it comes down to is I feel more comfortable with dashing as an overall defensive and offensive option. I think it's faster and safer. And again, sort of the game plan for me here is to start off fights with Hypnosis, do as much damage as I can, and if I get surrounded, overwhelmed, or if I'm in an enclosed space, I switch over to my short range option and make quick work of my enemies while staying on the move. With something like Echo, the way I play, I feel like I would need a little more space and a little bit more time to set up my reloads, to set up my shots, right? Sliding takes a little bit more space and time than dashing. So to me, I would say, in terms of a oh shit, I'm surrounded button, I think Cricket is better than Echo. but I'm prepared to admit that I could be wrong about that, and I'm sure there's people who do wonders with the Echo. But then again, of course, these two weapons aren't the only ones running the show here. A large part of why these camps are getting cleared so fast are two spells. And I also feel like the Blood of the Banshee put in quite a good amount of work, either applying burn or with the explosion damage after an overkill shot. So naturally, if I were to run Striga, I would probably prioritize something that provides stun. So Bell would be a good option in my opinion. I don't really like the flash spell, whatever it's called, the light spell that stuns around. Honestly, I just haven't been using it that much, and I really like Bell because it allows you to, deploy it from a distance. It covers a large area of effect, and you can just proc it once, forget about it for a while, do some damage, make some moves, shoot it again, and then again one final time. So it sets a certain rhythm to the encounter that I like. And then if I was using Echo, would I still keep the same spells? I probably wouldn't necessarily pair it with. Would I pair it with Blight Cyst? That's a good question. I think I might pair it with Frost Cone. I think that's how I would play it. It would allow me to set up my shots better. I would probably do something along the lines of slide, freeze, and then shoot. Yeah. But I think Blood of the Banshee would still be good with Echo just because of the high single shot damage output that it provides. And here I finally make it to the vault proper, the center arena here, and the strategy that I was kind of going for is just hiding hiding behind this structure and letting the spells do a lot of the damage, and hopefully getting the one of the priests vulnerable as fast as possible. And also I find I'm able to dodge most of the warrior priest projectiles from here, unless they start flanking me like that, of course. It didn't go great, but at the same time I knew I had a lot of resources to fall back on. So I kind of allowed myself after a while to just kind of start charging in face first. Yeah. But there's only so much you can control the pace of this battle, I feel, because even if you clear out a wave of revenants, you still sometimes have to wait for the priest to decide to summon another wave. Because I feel like they don't necessarily summon it as soon as you're done killing them. They sometimes will chill for a bit before they decide to bring in the next wave. So not sure exactly how that works, if they summon the waves on a set timer, or if it has to do with the rate that you're killing them at. It's not obvious to me. And speaking of things that are not obvious, when I first challenged this vault, I didn't really know what I was supposed to do, and to be honest, I still don't think new players will necessarily immediately understand how this fight works. So there are two soul traps, and as you kill revenants, their souls float into the traps, which, so far is something you've learned, because that's how the entire vault functions. Every room has some soul trap that sucks in the souls of the enemies. However, the thing you don't know is that their shields apparently get disabled once the soul trap is sated. So each priest has a soul trap, and apparently feeding the soul trap disables the shield. This is something that, I think could have been explained better or hinted at in a better way throughout the vault. because it is sort of a one-off mechanic that is it's a bit of a jump, you know. It's a bit of a jump to say, well, you know how soul traps work, therefore you must also figure out that they will disable the shield. It's something that you just eventually stumble across by surviving long enough and killing the killing the mobs of revenants, you know. But I'm sure there's some players out there who, you know, will maybe try to hurt the priest first, and they realize they can't, then they won't necessarily make the connection with the mobs, and that sort of stuff I believe should be better communicated in the future. And here I'm taking on Dimaher, and I'm playing a bit of hide and seek around this pillar because I'm trying to use my hypnosis to land headshots, and I also have the final bullet arcanum, so I'm trying to take advantage of that, the double damage on the final bullet. But I am struggling a little bit to actually find his head. That's one of the things I struggle with on this boss. Is he's pretty fast and has a pretty small head and a big body, so so getting headshots on him is a bit of a challenge, especially with a slow charging weapon like Hypnosis. And here I almost die and decide, you know what, it's a pretty decent run. I don't want to end it like this, so I cower, retreat, and heal up. And looking back, what I should have done earlier was to, well, sure, stagger him like this, but switch over to Cricket and more confidently use my Shadow Mist dash to pass through him and dodge his attacks that way. Keep planting those cysts on him and keep empowering my Cricket. I think that would have been a better game plan overall, but oh well, live and learn. So yeah, this is pretty much the end of the video here. Thank you guys for watching if you made it this far. If you're a new player to the game, and you have, you know, this equipment, I recommend you give this build a try. I feel like it's pretty well rounded in that it, you know, you have arguably the best long range weapon paired with the arguably the best short range weapon, and the spells to take good advantage of those two.